Good morning, everyone, and welcome back online to the Building Green 2020, the digital conference. Building Green is the flagship campaign for PHILGBC events and consists of year-round activities that encourage participation in the green building advocacy. I am Mario Suelto from the PHILGBC National Secretariat and will be today's facilitator. So before we continue, please be reminded of the following event guidelines. This webinar will be recorded by the PHILGBC National Secretariat for documentation purposes. We encourage your active participation during the event. You may ask your questions using the question box in the GoToWebinar panel, and questions that you will be raising will be addressed during the discussion period. Upon request, an electronic certificate of attendance will be issued by the PHILGBC National Secretariat to your registered email address. So please request a copy through events@philgbc.org. Our BG 2020 sponsors are our Diamond Sustaining member, NEO Property Management, and our conference sponsor, AGC Inc. Thank you for your sustained support. This episode is episode 2, The Law, and we will be focusing on the energy and building related laws and regulations in the country. We are privileged to have with us today the Department of Energy to share with us these policies and regulations that we must comply with and have in mind as we pursue energy efficiency and conservation in our projects. Our featured speaker for this morning is Director Patrick Aquino. He is currently the Director of the Energy Utilization Management Bureau under the Philippine Department of Energy. His engagement in the DOE spans over a decade, initially serving as part of the Office of the Secretary. From there, he held several key positions within the department. In 2013, he became the Director for the Information Technology Management Services, where he initiated the modernization of the information technology framework of the DOE. A year after, he was appointed as the Director for the Energy Utilization Management Bureau, or EUMB, and pushed for the institutionalization of energy efficiency and conservation in the country. Issuances such as the Philippine Energy Standards and Labeling Program, along with the Minimum Energy Performance Standards, were created during his tenure at the EUMB in 2016, which are among the essential components of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act that was enacted in 2019 after more than 3 decades of its initial draft in 1988. Now, Director Aquino, with the support of the DOE, stands at the forefront of the implementation of EENC in the country. He is a Career Executive Service Officer number 3, a distinction exclusive to civil servants who have exceptional performance and have undergone stringent screening processes, which is finalized by a presidential appointment. So let me pass now the screen to Director Patrick for his presentation. Good morning, sir. We can see your screen.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, PHILGBC and our partners for giving us the opportunity to this module on the law. As mentioned in the keynote of the Secretary, we are really at the forefront of moving forward with energy efficiency and conservation. You, our partner stakeholders, allow me to briefly walk you through some of the developments that we have pursued since the enactment of Republic Act 11285, or the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. Essentially, and this might be oft repeated already for most of you, the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act institutionalizes energy efficiency and conservation, enhances the efficient use of energy, and grants incentives to energy efficiency and conservation projects. To date, here are the issuances that have been made by the Philippine Department of Energy to implement the objectives and the mandates of the law. The first is on the government side. We have organized the Interagency Energy Efficiency and Conservation Committee, or the IAEECC, which has been tasked to evaluate and approve government energy efficiency projects, as well as provide strategic direction for the implementation of the Government Energy Management Program, or the GEMP. A second issuance that we've made is Department Order 2020-01002, which operationalizes the bureau that I head. It's strengthening the Energy Utilization Management Bureau, including our support services and field offices. For those of you who have been in interaction with the EUMB in the past, we have expanded to 4 divisions, each with their respective tasks. For the sector on the green buildings, this will be handled by the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Program Management and Promotion Division, EPMPD. For public sector, that will be EPSMD. And for Performance Enforcement and Regulation, EPRED. The development for particular product requirements for the labeling program remains to be with the alternative fuels and energy technology division. A third issuance that we've issued last May was the Memorandum Circular MC 2020-05-001, which essentially directs designated establishments under the commercial, industrial, and transport sectors for the submission of the annual energy consumption reports. Under law, this is submitted every 15th of April, but with the recent developments of COVID-19, we have extended MT will now be 21. This was to an issue for extension made this year. We're also pleased to tell you that the fourth development is on the consumer front with the issuance of the minimum energy performance for products as the Philippine Energy Label Program in June. That directs all importers, manufacturers, distributors, and retailers of all energy consuming products and equipment, including transport vehicles, display an energy label in products that is sold here in the Philippines. At present, we are scheduled to have our consultations for its implementing guidelines. We will be seeing new labels to come into effect through the first and second quarters of 2021. In terms of ongoing and draft issuances, there are a couple of things. For the guidelines on assessment, registration, and energy conservation officers, ECOs, those responsible for designated establishments, as well as energy managers for type 2 establishments, as well as energy auditors. Of public consultations this year and hopefully this month. Another ones that we is the guidelines, rules, and procedures in the administration, classification, and certification of energy service companies, or ESCOs, that was undergone also public consultation during the period. We are also hopeful to have this issuance in place this month or later next month. We've conducted also the public consultations for the guidelines on projects to the Board of Investments for fiscal incentives. We are slated to hold another round of consultations for this issuance this month and next. As I mentioned at the start, the PELP implementing guidelines and particular product requirements consultations will be underway later this month through next month. We are also in the process of having the Government Energy Management Program, GEMP guidelines approved through the Interagency Energy Efficiency and Conservation, or IAEECC. So the remaining ones that is for development this year would be your issuances on demand side management, the circular and guidelines for the templates and reports for local government units, development and implementation of local energy efficiency and conservation plans, the department's circular on guidelines containing the criteria for identifying government energy efficiency projects, the modalities and financial arrangements for government energy efficiency projects, the visitorial power and on-site inspection and implementation program. So there's a total of 31 issuances are on pursuant to the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. Now delving into specific programs under this act, the Government Energy Management Program, or GAMP, as I did mention, um, is under the stewardship of the IAEECC. To date, we are in the process of issuing its first resolution, which calls on government agencies, which now includes local government units, to comply with the reportorial requirements under the GMP. The activities that we've done so far, in addition to that, is the mandate for the reduction of at least 10% savings on fuel electricity for government, the sector. As I did mention already, that's the first resolution. The second resolution is on the adopt guidelines for the GEM. On minimum energy performance, this is actually a compliance-specific mandate that covers transport sector as well as the constructions under the GLP. For MEP, there are two MEPs that we are working on, and for this sector, I'll be delving it in my succeeding slides. The first MEP, or minimum energy performance, would be on your energy products. So this under the issuance of PLP and MEPP, these heating products, this your refrigerators and units. That's the first MEPP for as I mentioned earlier, scheduled for implementation for the first and quarters of 2021 with the issuance of the implementing guidelines. The next portion of the MEP by which leadership can assist their efforts will be your sectors. This will be in the form of a building energy intensity or rating system, which will be issued under the auspices of this science. We are hopeful that PHILGBC and its membership will also its in the coming months. Now proceeding on to designate the establishments, this is really a clear mandate now enforcement consuming sectors throughout the economy. We've initially identified commercial and industrial transport sectors, which are now mandated to submit energy consumption reports, as well as certain conditions under the law. As I mentioned, designated establishments are required to have an energy managers for type 2 designated establishments and energy conservation officers for type 1 designated establishments. The classification based on the consumption of the particular sector industry. In terms of partnerships, we are happy to report that we are being assisted by the European Union Access to Sustainable Energy Program, or EU ASEP. And this is the work that's being done with respect to the guidelines on energy conserving design for buildings, which, as most of you are aware, is a portion of the Philippine Green Building Code in coordination with the Department of Public Works, DPWH. We have taken the lead in the update of the Philippine Green Building Code as mandated since its promulgation that it once or every 3 years. We have formed technical working groups. And for some of you attending event, you are part of those technical working groups. And we are now extending that invitation for others who may wish to join to signify and be part of the technical working groups. Incidentally, we will be doing public consultations on the portions on the energy for the update of the Philippine Green Building Code. Next week, if I'm not mistaken, we will send it through the PHILGBC Secretariat, the details for this, and we're extending the invitation to our attendees to participate. This is a project that touches on all of us, and hopefully we will see you there so we can improve upon the latest version of the Philippine Green Building Code. In terms for energy performance for buildings, this is something that we are really working on with PhilGBC as well as our partners in the DPWH and in the private sector. As I mentioned earlier, a building energy intensity or rating system that will cut across through the building sector is for implementation within the framework of the minimum energy performance for sectors. As I did mention to you during the last event of PhilGBC last year in Cebu, we are hopeful for aligning all of these issuances, the Philippine Green Building Code, the guidelines for energy conserving design, and for the rating systems like the BERDE system in determining compliance of our building sector and our and now for a question that really is on the top of mind. So what is the extent of the coverage for the Philippine Green Building Code? It will cover new building construction, definitely, as well as retrofitting of existing buildings. So that answers the question. On the government side, it will cover all government buildings and facilities. We're also receiving assistance from ASAP on the labeling program, as I mentioned, for the drafting of information materials and the strengthening of our government energy management program. We're also fortunate to receive assistance from the United Kingdom on the Low Energy Program, or UKLSEP, which is updating the energy efficiency and conservation roadmap from 2020 to 2040. We are also working on and having clear pathways for the action plan to attain the roadmap. And for the recognition program, uh, valuing the inputs and valuing best practices is something that's very close to the heart of the Department of Energy. In the past, we have provided for awards through the Don Emilio Abello Energy Efficiency and Conservation Awards. Moving forward, under the mandate of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act, we will be providing for awards and recognitions for innovative and best practices, as well as successful energy efficiency projects across the country. We are also extending the invitation as we will be coming out with the guidelines for this to our private sector partners for provide and promotion of energy efficient technologies. We are also working on this guidelines for criteria, as I did mention. It will be through the auspices of this criteria that we will be endorsing to the ASEAN Energy Awards Committee the following award categories. And hopefully some of the attendees here have been recipients or nominees or awardees of the ASEAN Energy Efficient Building Awards, the ASEAN Green Building Award, and the Energy Management Award for facilities and buildings. This is annually given under the auspices of the ASEAN energy sector. That ends my presentation. Um, and I think I'll open the floor now. I'll pass on the hosting duties to Mario. Mario, thank you.
Okay, so again, you may ask your questions using the question box and the GoToWebinar panel. So you may ask your questions to some of the programs as well as the updates for the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act as shared by Director Patrick. So let me read some of the questions that we've received during your presentation. From Yvette Ravasio, where does smart metering for power fit into the DOE program? Dr. Patrick?
This presentation, but we're looking at it already. The policies for the smart grid, the broader perspective has been issued by the Department of Energy earlier this year, sometime in March, which provided for our distribution utilities and our electric power industry participants for a push for the roadmap for smart grid. That's the holistic approach. Smart meters, that's going to be at the residential level. We are working towards a policy for that, services of a smart home, as well as our push for electric vehicles. We have some drafts internally with respect to that, and we will be moving forward public consultations on those policies, hopefully within the next quarter or the last quarter of this year. It's a very exciting thank you for flagging that event. That is something that we at the Department of Energy is really pushing for. We believe that's the future for consumer empowerment. It gives the consumer the ability of choice and also supports for the efficiency side because having smart meters in place in homes allows for consumers or the residential sector to really manage effectively their consumption. Provides for an opportunity for those who are able shift or adopt or install uh, renewable energy technologies in their house to share or partake of that resource. So again, thank you, Yvette, for that question.
Thank you, Dr. Patrick. So the next question is from Adam Ang. And his question is, what is the status of the circular on a policy guiding stakeholders for the application of DOE endorsements for BOI incentives? And are energy efficiency and conservation projects considered for tax breaks?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The status is that you have heard we've done the first public at sometime last month. We're scheduled to have another public consultation. So we're really working DOI, making sure that endorsements done by the DOE gets carried forward already and entitled to some form of incentives. Now, as I stressed during the public consultations for that last month, or the extent that will be provided for the projects will be within the prerogative of the Board of Investments. But the entire menu of what can be given to those projects will be those provided under the Omnibus Investment Code of the Philippines, EO 226. So that would include duty-free importation. That may include income tax holiday prerogative of what will be given to a particular energy efficiency project will is within the and administration of the Board of Investments. What we can assure you is that assure you is that we will we are in agreement with the Board of Projects held already. But again, the extent of what those incentives would be on of BUI. Again, thank you for the question.
Thank you, Director Patrick. I think there are a few other questions here related to investments, and hopefully that answers them as well. There is another question from Benedict de los Santos, and they would like to know what is the basis for the 10% cost savings. Director Patrick?
Yeah, for the 10% cost savings that you're seeing is on the part of the government. The basis was a government directive under the Buy and Heal as One Act, issued by the Department of Budget and Management, as well as the Interagency Energy Conservation Committee, or IAEECC. So the 10% reduction is a number that was for government to free up resources for COVID-19. It is in any way a mandate for the other states. It's just the mandate for governments really to reduce energy consumption by at least 10%. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Director Patrick. So another question from Yvette Ravasio. Is there a model city which the DOE is studying for energy efficiency? Do you have a partner city for this, Director Patrick?
Actually, similar to PhilGBC, we've seen a lot of good in partnering with Mandaue City. Mandaue City has been endorsed, and as I mentioned in our event last year, it was a recipient of the APEC Low Carbon Model Town project. So they were provided with technical assistance sometime in the 2014, if I'm not mistaken, and they have come out with their plans. That's an integrated plan, and in fact, you're seeing materials coming from PhilGBC that they've adopted their code. So they've integrated most of what's required for sustainability through local ordinances, through the championing of their local chief executives. So Mandaue is a good example for local government units. We've also seen really excellent work in terms of issuing policies for some cities here in Metro Manila. Case in point will be Mandaluyong, as well as Quezon City and Makati and Pasig. These are our cities that are really shifting and have established dedicated units on sustainability. And this will be exactly for you, for the PhilGBC members. These are actually the same sets of units within the local government sector that you will be engaged if you were to also avail of additional incentives or provided under their own respective local ordinances. Let's just be very, very clear. The incentives provided by the national government is under this law, and also some incentives that are provided by local units through their own ordinances. So really shifting green, case in point in the cities that I've mentioned, will entitle companies additional benefits and incentives. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Director Patrick. Speaking of incentives, I think a lot of the participants are quite interested in the awards for energy efficiency, and a lot of the questions are related to them, from Jeffrey Nastor, from uh, Dominic Pang, asking what are the requirements for buildings to be nominated for the awards, and maybe you can expand on what is the direction that the DOE is looking at in terms of improving our existing energy efficiency awards by the DOE. Director Patrick. Right, Director Patrick, were you able to get the question? So we're just experiencing a bit of a technical difficulty.
Can you now hear me? I lost the green one.
Uh, let, let Yes, Director Pat. Yes. Yes.
So
Let me
what I was
also
saying is
review
that
the awards by
for the action, yes. What I was saying is that we're coming out with the guidelines to update for the purpose of making sure that it's now well represented. Let me just also take the time that the DOE is also working on having the green building agenda integrated in the curriculum for the appreciation of a lot of the members. There was a law that was passed last year as well, Republic Act 11363, which, along with the Commission on Higher Education, really calls for the development of a green building curriculum. And we're now working jointly with the SHED for this. We will be extending invitations as prodded by the SHED. We'll be extending invitations for this to the sectors to have these courses really integrated. It's either we'll have a dedicated green building course or it will be integrated to existing relevant courses like engineering or architecture. Uh, we are moving forward with that with SHED. We will extend the invitation again through PHILGBC to your membership to participate. We are hopeful to have those consultations in place on that curriculum within the latter part of this year.
thank you, Director Patrick. I think we have two questions here from related to renewable energy, and I think they're at the opposite ends of the spectrum. One from Chester Del Rosario asking what are the incentives of installing renewable energy at a higher um, uh, production, and the other from Jose Anyag asking what are the incentives currently, or maybe the direction of the DOE in making renewable energy attractive to homeowners. So one at the higher developments and one at the home level. What are the programs of the DOE regarding this?
Okay, I'll answer the easier one. At the home level, we're really pushing for improvements in the net metering. You've seen DOE through its two units, Electric Power Industry Management Bureau, EPINB, and the Renewable Energy Management Bureau, or REMB, push very, very hard on information education campaign and policies to support distribution utilities to be more familiar with the concept of net metering. The DOE is aware that outside the big franchise areas of your private distribution utilities such as Meralco, the electric cooperatives servicing our countrymen have some capacity building requirements when it comes to net metering. So that is what we are focusing on through assistance, through our own in-house projects. We're also working with the Energy Regulatory Commission to work on improvements at easing the requirements for net metering for those who are interested, and also looking into the possibility of removing that cap that really hinders. Segueing now to the next question on what are we doing to scale up utilization of renewable energy at a higher level, stopping short of having a renewable energy service contracts, which I have to say for the appreciation of everybody, we've done reform the initiative and of Secretary Alfonso Cusi. We've reformed the way we do award renewable energy service contracts. If in the past you may have encountered or heard difficulties getting service contracts on renewable energy from the Department of from the DOE, those are gone. Provided that you comply with all of the requirements, you can potentially get your renewable energy service contracts in under 20 days in compliance with the Ease of Doing Business Act. So that's one part of it. We've streamlined the processes through an issuance sometime in November last year. And then there's also new policies that the Department of Energy has issued. Case in point, you may have read it in the papers. Secretary Cusi signed off on a policy for reverse auction under the concept of a green energy auction. This is targeting at least 2,000 megawatts for renewable energy. That is earmarked and targeted for compliance under the renewable portfolio standards, which need I remind everybody, starting next year in 2021, all electric power industry participants now are obliged, whether on grid or off grid, to renewable energy source in their supply. So that's the green energy auction, the reverse auction mechanism that was issued in July. The other one is the green energy option.
Hi, Director Patrick. Your line is becoming choppy. Can you repeat the part on the green energy option? So apologies for the technical issues. Uh, Director Patrick, I think we lost you at green energy option.
Alignment by the Energy Regulatory Commission. And once those are in place, it gives you and me at the residential level the opportunity to choose renewable energy as our source for electricity. Really exciting things on renewable energy that's being pushed. And need I remind everyone that under the auspices also of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act, integrating renewable energy to your buildings and facilities is also common for designated establishment. So we are hopeful that with E and EC together, we'll have a more sustainable building. And as a segue, also, I'd like to promote and seek the membership support us in our drive to have the Electric Vehicles and Charging Infrastructure Acts passed. Key provision there really is a mandate for public access buildings as well as private buildings open to the public to have the option for net metering as charging stations for the public. Mario, thank you.
Thank you, Director Patrick. I think there is a related question here from Rinaldo King on what is the difference between a net zero rated building and a green building. And just to share again with our audience who might not be present in the opening yesterday, the Philippine Green Building Council officially launched our Advancing Net Zero program, where we will be undergoing the pilot implementation for our net zero energy certification for building projects. And I think this is really a good direction, especially now that we are creating better mechanisms to invite people to use renewable energy, whether for office buildings or even homeowners, to have options for them to choose what green power they may use in their projects. And of course, how we're now pushing for better energy efficiency and conservation in our building projects. May I know if the DOE has some directions or a policy direction regarding net zero or even nearly net zero actions, Director Patrick?
Yeah, under the auspices, I do have to shout out for Engineer Artita and the head of the EPMPD. Uh, Concept of net zero buildings or NZB has been part of national advocacy and carrying that advocacy forward. But we start with baby steps, I would suppose. Uh, we are in support of having this in place, but it will take some time. But in the meantime, we are in support of private sector like PHILGBC, who has taken the lead in getting the public and the sector aware of this concept. A net zero building is essentially carbon neutral. If my understanding is correct, and if I'm still on point on that. While a green building will still have some carbon emissions, but the green building also integrates not only efficiency but also renewable energy. So if we are really looking at it
Hi, Director Patrick. I think we
environment,
lost.
and it's the yeah, go ahead.
Can you repeat your last statement? Okay, so again, just as a reminder for our participants, if you have other questions related to energy efficiency and
Uh,
the
hate
policies of
on the internet provider, but yeah, go ahead, please.
yes, Director Patrick, please repeat your last statement because I think we lost your audio regarding the green buildings.
Yeah. For green buildings, I was just saying in terms conceptually that green buildings still have emissions, whether it's at the construction phase or during its operations. Well, a net zero building is really the way to go. It's really the future because that's the sustainable one. No impact to the environment. Uh, the net zero concept, and we are pleased that PHILGBC is already championing it. Uh, Hopefully later on, government can also join in and put the necessary regulatory support to advance it. But in the meantime, what we are pushing is really on the green building concept under the Philippine Green Building Code. But directionally, to answer that question, again, we are moving towards net zero. But it will take some time, and hopefully, with champions and partners like PhilGBC, we'll get there sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Patrick. I think uh, as he mentioned, really the direction now, especially for the Philippine Green Building Council, our global um, goal is to push for net zero buildings, at least for 2030, for new buildings that they are designed, constructed, and operated as net zero buildings. And by 2050, to have influence over existing buildings as well as they improve the performance of their buildings towards net zero. Again, as a reminder, for those who have questions, please type them in using the questions box in the GoTo webinar panel. Or if you are connected in a browser, there is a question section in the browser where you can type in your questions. We have another question here, I think, again related to renewable energy from Marife Arañas. Are there any subsidies for Filipino inventors that you may know of focusing on renewable energy? Is there a partnership with the DOE and maybe the other departments on providing subsidies for these types of inventions? Director Patrick?
Yeah, sorry, you've said a really dirty word. If you talk to the Secretary of Energy, we're really shying away from providing for subsidies. What we've seen for renewable energy, case in point is solar, is that it is already grid parity. Coupled with the right sector or area where you place it, it's something that can really compete or even be the least cost option for off-grid areas. So to talk about subsidies, that's not the direction of the government, unfortunately. But what we can provide you support on is on the policies, which I mentioned earlier, there's quite a handful, the green energy auction, green energy option, as well as the ongoing mechanisms on the renewable portfolio.
Hey, Director Patrick, I think we lost you with your last statement.
That is what we're offering. But subsidy is something that's not part of the discussion at this point in time.
Thank you, Director Patrick. Um, we have another question from Robert Gomez and related to the Philippine Green Building Code and the challenge in implementing the code. One of the challenges that they've seen is that some of the LGUs are still not familiar with the code. Um, Especially now that you are working with the Department of Public Works and Highways in improving the energy related provisions of the code. Is there a program with the Department of Energy in terms of um, creating more awareness and maybe capacity building for LGUs, maybe related to the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act, as well as the upcoming provisions for the energy section for the Philippine Green Building Code? Director Patrick?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Exactly, that's what we're doing. We are holding capacity building sessions nationwide to empower and capacitate our local government unit partners to implement this. And as I did again mention to you last year, how we're going to implement the energy efficiency and conservation provision on guidelines for energy conservation design is really to have them be implemented within the framework of the Philippine Green Building Code. So part of what we will be providing to DPWH and our local government unit partners through another assistance really is to provide them with the familiarization. I know it can happen overnight, but we've slated a couple of events, virtual events at this point in time, to familiarize them with the guidelines for energy efficiency and conservation so that they can
Hi, Director Patrick. I think we lost you from your last statement. Director Patrick. Apologies for the technical issues. I think we just lost connection with Director Patrick. So please, if you still have questions, please type them in using the question box um, so we can address them to the Department of Energy, especially on the Energy Efficiency Act, how we can improve energy efficiency and conservation in your projects and in your operations of your projects. Um, So let me just go through some of the other questions. Yes. Let me go through some of the questions now. Okay. So a question from Luigi Abellion. Is there a set of regulations or standards with regards to the brands, contractors, or services that may be used for renewable energy in buildings? So I think this might be aligned with your product labeling program, Director Patrick. Is there a direction for guiding our consumers on how do we choose renewable energy for our projects in the country, Director Patrick? Director Patrick?
Yeah, Mario, sorry, you got cut off. I barely heard the question. So can you please repeat that again? Thank you.
Sure. They were asking if there are sets of regulations or standards or guides on what brands, contractors, or services may be used for renewable energy. So I think this might be aligned with your actions for
Renewable
products and
energy.
um,
Yeah, go
for
ahead, Mario. Sorry. So I cut you off.
yes, Director Patrick.
Yeah, go ahead. I talked while you were saying. I didn't get the last portion. Thank you.
So they're asking if how do we guide buildings in using renewable energy in terms of what brands, contractors, or services they may use.
For renewable energy, what the direction is really to make sure that the quality of the products are met. With respect to that, unfortunately, it's not under the Energy Utilization Management Bureau. That's under REMB. We can endorse this question, Mario. If you can give me the transcript, so we'll have that response and share it with the group while I confer with my colleagues from the REMB. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Um, Let me go through some of the other questions here. Uh, for some of the other questions that are not aligned with our current topic on energy efficiency, we'll take them in and answer them, maybe replying through your emails as well. Um, there are a few questions here related to water and other aspects of buildings. We'll try our best to answer them by sending you an email directly to your registered email. There is a question here from Hermogenes Paras. Considering the shift from coal-based economy to renewable energy, is there a study conducted by the DOE or other agencies where these facilities are located and their sustainability related to their location? So I think, Director Patrick, this might be again for the REMB's jurisdiction. So we'll just take some of these questions and send them to the Department of Energy so they can properly address these
Yeah,
questions.
Mario, just to respond to the questions on the other portions of the Philippine Green Building Code, as I did
Yes,
mention while I was discussing it, we are taking the cudgels of the on the update of the Philippine Green Building Code. So the other portions that's also not energy, we are facilitating its update. So the questions you can send them in will have the appropriate technical working group look into it so that it gets factored in the discussions, because the update of the Philippine Green Building Code is not only on the energy portion. We are helping the DPWH to cover all of it in its entirety, consistent with the requirements of that particular issuance, that it should be updated regularly, at least every 3 years. With respect to a study on the shift to renewable energy, I can answer that question. Yes, there is. There are now competitive renewable energy zones. An issuance was made. A program is actually underway. That the DOE has identified areas in the country wherein renewable energy can be accommodated uh, and integrated without any additional cost to private investors within the grid setting. Those are available on the DOE website. It's called Competitive Renewable Energy Zones. We've shared that with the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, our distribution utility partners, and the Energy Regulatory Commission. So if you're interested, the materials, if I'm not mistaken, are available in the DOE website. Again, you will be looking at the Competitive Renewable Energy Zones, or CREZ. Thank you.
thank you, Director Patrick. Again, if you still have questions, please send them in using the question box. Um, so I think we were already able to answer some of the questions related to smart technologies. Director Patrick, they were asking if you can repeat the circulars related to the smart technologies.
Yeah, the circular with respect to the smart technologies that was issued in March. Let me just pull up the actual number so that you'll be able to load it. That was Department Circular number D.
Director Patrick, I think we lost your audio.
2020-02-03. Thank you, Mario.
Okay, so maybe we'll just send the circular directly to the participant. We'll go through your presentation and send them to the participant who was asking for the circulars mentioned. There's a question here related to products and materials for their claims as green building materials. Just to share with you, again, for those who might not were not able to attend yesterday's opening for the Building Green 2020, the PhilGBC will also be launching this month our Green Building Procurement Hub, which will be an online portal for some of the green building materials and services that are available in the market. So this is a listing of products and services with green claims. This is not a certification program, but this is our way to help the industry and connect you with what are the available resources that you may have to help you out in building, in designing, constructing, and operating your green building projects in the country. So if you would like to know more about the program, please contact the PhilGBC National Secretariat. You may send us an email through secretariat@philgbc.org. And you may participate in the upcoming episode for technologies next week. This will be on Thursday, and we can send you some of these information so you can participate and learn more about the Green Building Procurement Hub. Okay. There is a question here from Adrian Atibagos. For existing government buildings, what extent does the law cover in implementing the use of renewable energy? Maybe Director Patrick, you can share with us what are the actions related to government buildings and the energy efficiency and renewable energy for government buildings. Director Patrick?
Yeah, directionally, thank you for the question. Under compliance with this act, we were telling our legislators and our other colleagues in government that we're really pushing for bringing in, whether it's funded through the budget or through a mechanism wherein private sector comes in to finance under an energy performance contract, for example, through an energy service company as one modality to have um, the evaluation of government facilities to determine how much renewable energy they can uh, possess and what other energy efficiency opportunities that they may have. Government is really a big spender when it comes to utilities. That's why having our facilities be integrated, let's say, with net metering, have them retrofitted with efficient energy lighting, efficient cooling systems. Those are things that we are working on. If I may share, the DOE under this year's 2020 budget, we have embarked on our own efficiency project wherein the facilities within the compound of the Department of Energy Central Office uh, is being retrofitted for efficient lighting and cooling systems. And the results of this will be shared to the government to show them that there really is potential, there's savings to be made, plus there's improvements in convenience of the and well-being of the employees. So that's something that we are very much pushing for. Again, thank you for the question.
Thank you, Director Patrick. We have a question from one of the LGUs, from Roberto Dizon, asking if LGUs are mandated to abide or comply with the EENC law, uh, particularly on using renewable resources as well. Director Patrick?
Yeah, thank you for that question. There is a memorandum, DILG. Now I'm citing DILG all of a sudden. There was a DILG memorandum circular issued sometime in May, actually calling the attention of the regional offices. That's the DILG memorandum circular 2020-00082. It really calls on our LG local chief executives concerned of their obligations in terms of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. It does mention there that local government units have a local energy efficiency and conservation plan. And incidentally, if you are from Luzon Island Group, sir, there is a capacity building session and forum that we will be holding. I'll share the details if the secretariat will give me to you for next week. Uh, and we can familiarize you and capacitate you on how to go about it. But yes, all units, local government units, are now obliged to have this integrated in their plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Patrick. In terms of the local governments, we do have another episode that we will be focusing on the integration of green building principles in local policies and programs. This will be in one of the upcoming episodes for the Building Green 2020. And for the LG representatives that are present, you may register for the government leaders episode, which is on September 22. Um, and again, we will be talking about what are the best practices now in incorporating some of the green building principles, of course, including energy efficiency as part of that discussion in your local policies and programs for your jurisdictions. So again, if you have further questions or comments on the Energy Efficiency Act and the programs of the Department of Energy, please send them in. We will be collecting all of these questions and recording them in the proceedings of this episode um, so that we can, if in case we were not able to address your questions, uh, please expect an email from us to answer your questions. And again, as mentioned earlier, some of the questions that might not be related to this episode's topic, please rest assured that we are taking note of these questions and will try our best to answer them through email to your registered email address. Um, Maybe for before we close the discussion, Director Patrick, do you have any other message that you would like to share to our members and participants for this episode?
Yeah, thank you, Marlo. Essentially, what we'd like to tell our partners is that, government regulation, government policies moving forward are really geared on having sustainability center. And teams like these and organizations like GBC really will play an important role. As I will reiterate to you, the policies that will come out will be in coordination, in collaboration with the private sector partners. This will not be done. It's not government for us to go green, to go net zero. It's not going to be government by itself doing all of the work. You, our partners, will be part of it. Rest assured, in terms of energy efficiency and renewable energy, we are working very, very hard and tirelessly to make the necessary policies, make it more conducive for investment projects to come in so that we can all achieve the same objectives of having a more sustainable, more green, more resilient country. Look forward again to future events like this. We look forward to your partnership through the Secretariat of LGBC. We will be more than happy to address and reflect your inputs in the policy issuances that we'll be doing. Again, thank you for the opportunity for having um, talked to you this morning. I do hope you've taken something from here, and we look forward to seeing you in our own public consultations moving forward. Again, thank
Thank you very much, Director Patrick. And of course, the PhilGBC is committed to support the programs of the um, Department of Energy and the national government, especially in our promotions for green buildings and energy efficiency. And of course, it's our privilege to attend the consultations for the upcoming guidelines and regulations that will be conducted by the Department of Energy. And we look forward to attending them as well and participating in them actively. So for the questions that we might not have been able to address, please expect an email from us. We'll try our best to answer your questions as well as the other questions that might not be um, appropriate for this episode. And we'd like to invite you to participate in the upcoming activities for next week. So as we mentioned in the opening, and as you've listened in today, we are hosting different episodes daily for the rest of the month of September. And the upcoming episodes, episode 4, will be for the building professionals. This will be on September 14. You may scan the QR code on your screen now to register, or you may contact the National Secretariat at events@philgbc.org to register. The next episode we have is on episode 5, the partners, where we will be um, we'll be having resource persons from some of our partners in the industry um, who are promoting energy efficiency and conservation, renewable energy, and even green financing options for green building projects. So again, you may scan the QR on your screen now to register, or you may contact the National Secretariat at events@philgbc.org for more information on these activities. For those who are asking, we will be sharing the presentation materials from today's episodes directly to your registered emails. And again, if you would like to request for a certificate of participation, we will be sending an electronic copy of these certificates to your registered email. So please send your request to events@philgbc.org. For this week, we will also still be hosting a class for the Verde Professionals Basic Training course. And if you are still interested in participating in the training, please send in an email and contact Mr. Chester de la Cruz at verde@philgbc.org. So thank you once again to our BG 2020 sponsors, our diamond sustaining sponsor, Neo Property Management, and our conference sponsor, IGC Inc. Again, thank you for your sustained support. So thank you once again to the Department of Energy for presenting the programs today. And thank you to our participants for attending to this morning's episode, and we look forward to your participation in the upcoming online episodes as well. So we'll see you in the rest of the uh, uh, week, and we'll see you again for the rest of the Green Building Month and our celebration of the different episodes that we will be hosting for BG 2020. So again, thank you, Director Patrick, for being our featured speaker for this morning. And we'll see you in the upcoming episodes. Thank you, everyone.